Okay, so I wanted to show you how you can create your own chart in astro.com and how then you work from that point onwards on your own. So basically you need to obviously go to astro.com and it's under My Astro, there's something here which, since I have an account already, it doesn't show me that, like create your account or something. So either there or My Astro, you click on that and you get to this page and you go create a free registered user profile. And basically it's pretty self-explanatory. You just email, password, title, name, last name, etc. Keep me logged in, yes or no, and then okay. And I think there is another step and you okay that and you are in. And when you're in, this is what it looks like. So here you will have your chart and many others that you might want to, include and work with. So this is something I already created. These are all anonymous people. I don't even know them. I just literally picked random numbers and put them together to have certain dates. So I'm going to leave this one here. I'm going to add so you can see how you can create. So add new astro data. And whenever once you're kind of into this more, and you just have to go to My Astro and add new data every time. Although there are other points on the screens, different screens that you can maybe do the two as well from. But anyway, so add new astro data. I'm gonna, this is like I say, just an anonymous person. I don't like a test, like a dummy. I'm sure it's someone's birthday, but 22nd of July. What do I have? 1986. That's 8:30 a.m. And if you pick the country, you will have less to scroll through to find your actual town or city. So you see in the UK, there are 4 entries for London, different Londons and whatever, but yeah, just if you leave it bigger, then you have a bigger list. Okay, and then you can see straight away it gives you the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. And if you were to change the time, what will happens with the ascendant and even the moon? Well, sometimes it happens with the moon as well if it's at the end of the sign, ascendant change. So that's how important the time is. So you need to know your time exact and to be 100% sure. Okay, so you continue. And it just takes you back to where all your charts are. So you can click on that one straight away. And it gives you options what kind of chart you want to use. Chart drawing ascendant or extended chart selection, personal daily horoscope, short report, forecast. Basically, these 3 are the best. Well, this is where you work with a chart, and this is the forecast, like a daily, your transits, and whether daily or a bit longer term. These are longer term, these are daily. So they're really useful and helpful. I might show you that at the end of this. But this is where I go to create the chart. So I'll show you why. This is where you have different types of charts, which I will have separate videos for. So you have synastry, you have composite, you have transits, you have progressed, you have solar arc, you have solar return, lunar return. So you can play with so many, but this is where you get to begin with, and I would leave it at that. And then house system, if you're a beginner, I would definitely leave it at default. That's Placidus, as you will, I'll show you where it shows that. This is why it's important to start with this screen. It helps, at least I think it does. So descending mode, click that, and also aspects to Chiron. Unless you definitely don't want to work with Chiron, then don't worry about this. But otherwise, it just shows you Chiron, but it doesn't give you the aspects. You can still work them out yourself, but this is far easier, especially if you're a beginner. So descending node and Chiron, and then here you add as many, in fact there is a maximum number, 11 additional objects. So you can manually enter, you have a whole list of 22,023 names of asteroids, or list of fixed stars and some other stuff. So you can open, I'm not going to do that, it's like a full, I think it's a PDF or something else, one of those files, DOS files, like you can see 22,023 names of asteroids. But sometimes if you know which asteroid you want to work with, you can just Google it and whatever the name, let's say, I don't know, Persephone asteroid ID. That's how I Google it, and then it gives you the actual number, and then you type in that number here. But for the time being, I'm just going to keep it simple. So click here to show the chart, and you do that, and there we are, your chart. So if you didn't click Chiron, none of this would be showing. So if you, and I advise to start, even if you're nowhere near your Chiron return, I would very strongly advise to start looking into your Chiron if you're into shadow work and individuation and all the stuff that I talk about. So basically, this is the kind of the map of the skies, as it were. This is your horizon, ascendant, AC, DC, descendant. Ascendant is always on the cusp of the first house, so that's your first house. There's a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in all these little corners, you have the number of the house. And that also is like a Earth horizon, literal, physical. So at the moment of your birth, sun was nowhere near mid-heaven, meaning it was not midday yet. It was 8:30 in the morning, but in July, so it was still already, you know, quite a few hours into the morning. And then this would be what you could see in the skies, would you be able to? So, and I'm not really versed in astronomy and what planets you see when, but like I say, if you could, they would be showing, they would be visible. I mean, these are not planets, it's just mathematical points in the sky, so don't worry about that, but still. And then at the time of your birth, all these other planets were under the horizon, meaning they would have been visible from the southern hemisphere. At least that's, again, my understanding of astronomy of all this, and that's really not my strength. And so this is the zodiac wheel, as you can see. So these lines are to say that this is where Gemini begins, and Cancer ends. Am I right? Yes. Yes, exactly. So Leo begins, Cancer ends, and everything. So these are defining like a borders of the sign. These lines are the borders, the dividers of the houses. So that not to confuse them. So this is how you know your house number 2 is at this many degrees of Virgo. And then I'll show you where we have this very specifically laid out for you. And this is your medium coeli, midheaven, which is always the cusp of the 10th house. Yeah. And you have the opposite is IC, always the exact opposite, obviously, which is immune coeli, or I don't know what the actual, other than IC, I'm not sure what other colloquial term for it is, but it's basically always the cusp of your 4th house. And the reason I tick the descending node is that even though wherever your north node is, which is this, the way it looks, the squiggle, I'll show you later where you can again tell how this is north node, even if you don't know it. Wherever this is, the opposite in south node, right, is the exact opposite point. So it's easily, you can easily figure out, unless you are maybe such a beginner that you might not know exactly what is opposite Aries. So that's why you tick descending node, and then you have it visually there for you straight away, so you can tell. Now, here is, so if you're not even familiar with glyphs, with these little symbols for the planets, this is where you can easily see what they are and what they mean. So let me just enlarge this a little bit. So sun, moon, you see the list, and then the squiggles, the little symbols are just around here. So you see true node is the north node, descending true node. So it doesn't call it here south or north, but yeah, this is where you find those kind of, not inconsistencies, but maybe, well, yeah, inconsistencies between different astrology schools. And then this is how you know the exact cusp degree of your houses. You will see, but it slightly leaves some work for you to do. So ascendant, it tells you only ascendant, it doesn't tell you the descendant. tells you only the second house, but not the eighth. It tells you only the third, but not the ninth, and so on. Meaning you have to figure out the opposite, but there's no figuring out. You literally just means it's the same degree, just the opposite house. So, okay, let me just show you what I mean by that. So ascendant, if you know the ascendant is on the 3 Virgo, which it tells you here, yeah, 3 Virgo. All these other numbers here, by the way, 12, 30, 20, 49, and I don't know, 33, 3, don't worry about them. Basically, there's minutes and seconds. That's just, don't worry about it. So when it gives you only AC, if that's what you're looking, all it means that descendant is right opposite on 3 Pisces. Now, yes, you will need to know that opposite Virgo is Pisces. So yeah, so that's something you need to know. But again, just looking at the chart, you can tell what's opposite what in terms of signs. That's how you kind of visually get used to it. And so the same here. So if you know the second house is 20, if it tells you here 23 Virgo, and the reason you kind of go here for the actual cusps and degrees is because it doesn't really tell you on here the cusp degree, right? Unless you kind of zoom in and you can tell, but I couldn't ever. So you go to that here for reference. So that if the second house is 23 Virgo, opposite that, what is opposite that is this point here. So that's Pisces, and it's there for 23, and that's the cusp. So the cusp is this of that house, the house number that's inside the line. So here of this line, inside that line is number 3. So you know that this cusp is for the third house. So like 23 Virgo, as per that table earlier, is the cusp of the second house because number 2 is inside that line, right? So what's opposite? You just literally use the ruler or, visualize hopefully easily enough that it's straight away opposite is 8th house. So the cusp of the 8th house would be 23 Pisces because that's exactly opposite 23 Virgo, even though they haven't explained this to you here. 20 Libra. Let me just try with MC. So MC is, like I say, this point here, and you just go follow the line all the way down. That's IC, right? So these are marks, so they're easily you can tell that that's IC because it tells you so, and it gives you the actual degrees. But just to kind of reiterate, that's the 4th house because number 4 is just inside this line. So you just need to, and that's what, 28 Scorpio, because you see Scorpio is between this line and that line here. So it's in between, right? And it says here 24. So let's have a look at the 11th house. Says here 2 Cancer. So where is the 11th house here, right? So this is the number inside this line. So we go all the way here. So that's 2 Cancer. What's opposite? It's the 5th house, right? And again, this is the line. Number 5 is inside. So you follow that line and it's 5 Capricorn. But you don't even need to follow the line. You know that if Capricorn, is opposite Cancer and 11th house cusp is on 2 Cancer, then 5th house cusp is on 2 Capricorn because the 2 are opposite, yeah? And that's how you work that out. And then this is where you really want to be kind of spending most time with. I mean, obviously here as well. So the houses are great, obviously, but there are so many different house systems, and personally, I'm not really, I mean, you kind of have to choose which you want to work with so that you are consistent at least until you get really good. But so yeah, that's why I say just stick with default, which is Placidus, as you can see. It says here Placidus is default, which is most common, and all beginners start with it probably. I don't know if it's the oldest system, but my point is that I would leave houses. I would master first your signs. So Sun in Cancer, I would master that and get a feel for that Sun, and then I would move on to your aspects. So this is Sun, right? So these are all its aspects, and you then go across to see what it is. So it's a trine with Jupiter or conjunction with Mercury. Now these are not explained here, so you can either Google astrology aspects, glyphs, or astrological aspects, just something like that, and it will give you a good list. But other than conjunction, which might not seem obvious, which is a little circle with a tiny little, arm, but like Mars, but without the arrow. And it's red. All the red aspects are kind of challenging aspects. Blue are easy or supportive. Green are also challenging, and black are also challenging, I would say. So really, it's only blue that are allegedly easy. But that's just the old-fashioned or sort of, but for the beginner, that's fine. So that's your conjunctions sign as a symbol. Then there is another conjunction here. This is opposition, which is kind of typically, it's easily, I suppose it's obvious that it's opposition, isn't it? It's like two little circles opposite each other on a little line. Square is also obvious, isn't it? It's like a proper square. Triangle, trine, and these little tables, like tabletop with two legs, or the upside down version, are inconjuncts. And what else have we got here? This is semi-square or sesqui-square. Not semi-square, sorry, it's a sesqui-square, sesqui-quadrate, or yeah. And then this is a semi-square. So no, this is 45 degrees. This is something I can't be sure now. I don't know off the top of my head what the exact degree is between, but this is why this is good. You don't need to worry about those things. Just follow this to begin with. Get really good with these things, and then you will, then you can come to my tutorials and we can deepen this. And then what else? Let's show you sextile. Yeah, so those are the aspects. This is cardinal, fixed, mutable. So every sign has a quality, whether cardinal, fixed, or mutable. And it also belongs to an element either fire, air, earth, and water. And again, that's, something that you can easily Google and find. And that's kind of the point. At this stage, you get your chart, you write all this down, print out or whatever works for you best, and then start with whatever you want to start with. I mean, you can just Google, sun, astrological meaning, and then whatever that stands for, and that would be identity, basically, or vitality, or self-expression, etc. You can or go, oh, this is actually something I'm really working on at the moment, or I need to get good at, or something. Then you find what archetype you actually want to work with, want to understand and deepen your connection with. And then you just work your way through all of this. I don't actually have any book recommendations for such a beginner stage, because that was 30 years ago, and those were actually books that I tried to look for them some years ago, and I don't think they're in print anymore. And that was so useful to me. But so any basic, any kind of beginners, there are billions of them now. I'm sure Cafe Astrology is another really good website for beginners to give you just those like basics. So just, thankfully there's Google, OMG, that I don't know what we would do without. So just, that's it. So you just do sun astrology, moon astrology, you just get those archetypes to begin with, and then sun in Cancer, sun, moon in Aquarius, Mercury in Leo, and then you go to sun conjunct Mercury. You will not, and if you do, please let me know, because I never found those websites where they kind of give you sun in Cancer, conjunct Mercury in Leo, because they're actually, in your case here, Cancer, they're not both in Cancer. One is in Leo, so they're not in the same sign. Often conjunctions typically would be in the same sign, but often they're not if they're close enough. So yeah, so that's where kind of you just weave your own way of working with and combining and integrating and making sense of those, of your inner cosmos, essentially. And yeah, so that's it. For the beginners, like I say, hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll try to use them for another video to explain further if they make sense. Okay, thank you.